Looking for recycling in the mining sector, Tarku Resources may be the answer. Listed on the TSX.V Venture Exchange in Canada and in the Frankfurt Exchange, Tarku focuses on creating high-quality exploration projects by applying new technology to old mining fields, abandoned by other players and used centuries ago. And here to tell us more is Julien Davy, CEO. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carlo. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about Tarku Resources, which is a Canadian-based exploration company focused on developing new discoveries in what we call stable jurisdictions, and we're looking for world-class geological settings also. I'm going to do some forward-looking statements today. I'm going to let you read them on our website if you want. And I'd like today to go over a corporate overview with you and to present you the two main focus we have as a project. We have one in South Arizona and the other one in northern Quebec. So exploration, as you probably know, is a risky business. And our job then is to try to lower the risk as much as possible. And to do this, we have put in place a few strategies that we believe will help us on de-risking the exploration. As Carlo mentioned to you, we are listed on 3 different exchanges. We are a TSX Venture listed company under the ticker TKU, but also in Frankfurt and on the OTCQB in the US. We have chosen to use the project generator model because we think this is where we are able to make some new discoveries. And to do this, we have put in place strategies like choosing the right jurisdiction. We know that there are places today that is more difficult to do some exploration. So this is why we have chosen places like Quebec or in Canada and Arizona in the US. Also, we have chosen to use and to be close to infrastructure because we know that exploration is expensive and it's cheaper to use a pickup truck to go on the field than to use a helicopter. We have also chosen to look into historical mining camps. And this is a big reason, and it makes a lot of geological sense because if you go into mining camps, old mining camps, you know that there is already mineralization that has been proven. And if you look with new and modern techniques, you could be astonished to see how much new discoveries you're able to do. To do this, we have a team, an experienced team that I will show you in a few minutes. But we have also the strategy to commit strongly to sustainable development. And it is known that today in 2022, there is no other way than to have a discussion and a local discussion with the people, with the local and the native people around us. So this is our strategy also to, as soon as possible, to get in touch with the native people and the local people and to have discussion and to see if we have a local acceptability. We use modern exploration techniques also. In the last 20 years, 25 years, we know that there's a lot of changes that has been made, technically speaking. We have more accurate assay results. We have more accurate geophysical survey that are more deeper, that are allowed to go deeper. We have techniques that allows to spend less money on a wider range of claims. So all those techniques help us to lower the risks to make some new discoveries. Also, what I'd like to show on this slide is where Tarku stands, and I think we are an attractive relative valuation if you compare to our peers. Tarku has a market cap of between 5 and 10 million shares, and the average of the junior in Quebec and Arizona stands around $20 million for a market cap. And if you look at the graph and on the blue line, you see a typical share price variation during the period from the first discovery to a mine that will close. And you see that the share price varies a lot. And we think that by staying in the first period of that graph help us creating value. From the first showing until the first discovery, there's a lot of value creation. The team, our chairman is a well-known Quebec geologist, Mr. Bernard Lapointe. He has discovered one of the largest phosphate deposits in the world. It's in northern Quebec. And since then, he's semi-retired and he's involved in several junior companies helping us finding the right path to make some new discoveries. Myself, geologists, and work in exploration since 1996 in North and South America, essentially, in gold, base metals, lithium, graphite, uranium, different mineralization styles. In 2015, I co-started my private company, which I sold to Tarku with some projects that I'm going to talk to you now. I'm also backed by my CFO, who is based in Toronto, Mr. Kyle Appleby. David Watkinson is a mining engineer with a lot of experience in more advanced projects, and this allows us to have an interesting discussion and to understand where we have to go to have a economic and viable project. And Mr. Jeff Shepard, also in the finance sector and based in Saskatoon, he's one of the founder of the company also. We have 86 million shares outstanding with some options and warrants that could, if they're all in the money, that could bring us about 2.5 million more cash in the bank for a fully diluted structure of 107 million shares. As I was mentioning, we are listed on 3 different exchanges, TSX Venture, in the Frankfurt, and in the US. One thing interesting with the share structure of Tarku is that the first 25 shareholders of the company holds more than 70% of the shares. We have people like Mr. Eric Sprott, which is a well-reputed silver investor. We have company in the US like Exla Resource, which is a silver exploration company also. We have Goldspot from Canada. We have private entities. We have also institutional funds out of Quebec that are involved in the company since the beginning. Tarku, since 2017, since I'm there, we have been through several, probably more than 10 different projects, and now we are focusing on 2 different areas. One in northern Quebec, close to the town of Matagami, and one in the south part of Arizona, close to Tombstone, the Tombstone city. In Quebec, we are looking for gold, essentially, with some occurrences also, and an environment for copper, zinc, and silver. And in Arizona, it's mostly silver, but interestingly, we found that we have more gold than expected, more copper, lead, and zinc also. I'm going to start first with the south of the Arizona area, the Tombstone district, which is really famous for his gunfight at the OK Corral in the late 1800s. There is a film on that city and on that silver rush in the late 1800s. If you didn't see it, it's really interesting to see that area. So the district in Tombstone has been worked since 1877, and mostly during the first 50 years, so until 1930, the historical production was around 32 million ounces of silver, and with an interesting average grade of 25 ounces per ton. times 31 grams, that's more than 700 grams per ton as an average. They were mining only the high-grade veins. Those veins were around 30 to 50 centimeter wide by hand, and they were mining from surface to about 200 meters depth. More than that, it was more difficult for them. They had technical issues to dig further. And what we discovered last year is that those veins continue at depth. What we also found during our due diligence process is that we have gold, lead, zinc, copper, and also manganese on the deposit. So without going into too many details about the history of the area, it was mostly a silver rush in the late 800s when the silver price was around $1 per ounce, and then when it fell to 50 cents, the areas shut down essentially until 1980, when we had another spike in the silver price, and we saw a open pit production for 5 years at a lower grade. And then again, not much exploration until prospectors wrap up the whole area, and we've been presented to that project in the late 2020 when we first did a option agreement. A first due diligence visit, pick some samples, and then a first drill program in 2021 to test all the veins lower than 200 meters and on their extensions. And we came back with interesting results like 1,500 grams per ton silver equivalent. So the project was really interesting. And why is that? Because we are located, geologically speaking, we are located in what we call the elephant country. It means that we are in an arc with a lot of porphyry systems. Some of them are copper porphyry, but other are more related to other base metals. If you look around us in 100 kilometer, 200 kilometer diameter around Tombstone, you could see neighbors like Rio Tinto, BHP, Freeport. We have south of Tombstone an old copper mine, the Copper Queen mine, which produced 8 billion on copper. We have also the other side of the border in Mexico, we have the Buena Vista mine, which is a monster of 4.4 billion tons of reserves of base metals. And the one we like to compare is the one that we have at 80 kilometers to the west of Tombstone is the Hermosa project. The Hermosa mine is a recently discovered deposit that has been sold by a junior company to South 32 for $1.8 billion US dollars in 2018. So the area is really of interest. I could spend a lot of time on this slide, but I just would like to show you to show you the idea of what they were able to mine only on the 201st meter in the late 1800s. They were mining the high grade veins, but from surface to 200 meters. And if you look at a model like this, you could see that there is a lot of potential for extensions, discoveries right beneath the existing mines and on their extensions. Because those area has never been worked as a whole project. Everybody was working on their own little shaft. When they were mining, there were more than 160 different little mines, and everybody was working on their own. So today we have wrapped and took the whole district and are looking to extend the potential. So we like to compare ourselves again, and when you look at the rocks, the type of alteration, the age of the rock, the type of the structure, we could compare ourselves really strongly with the Hermosa deposits. Quickly, Mr. Peter McGow is a famous geologist, PhD, specifically on CRD models, the models that we are looking for, CRD for carbonate replacement deposit. And he made a checklist of 12 points that we need to have to talk about a CRD model. And since 2 years, we have checked 9 of the 12 boxes. The 3 left is simply that we didn't have time until now to validate those. So this is our land position in Tombstone, some patenting claims around the historical town, and a lot of terrain, of land on the southwest and west. And if we took an example of the groundhog area, which is on the south portion of the project, we could see, and we are at 4 kilometers from the historical area, we could see that we hit, again, the same type of mineralization at surface and also around 150 meters at depth. So the next phase for us at Silver Strike will be to do some more ground exploration. We need to do some more exploration mapping, and after that will be done probably before the end of this year, and after that we're going to start a second drill program probably early 2023. This is another example of working in a historical area, is that we have access to old shafts and to old adits, where you are able to visualize in 3D, in real, the mineralization, and we were able to see the high-grade silver veins, and to be able to understand why we hit those veins by drilling underneath. So we were able, by mapping those adits and by drilling under the adits, to better understand how the core and how the mineralization extends. So the next phase, again, here we'll be mapping and then drilling early 2023. We're going to jump now in Quebec, in northern Quebec, for the 3As project, 3As for Apollo, Atlas, and Admiral. These are 3 different projects, but adjacent. We are located on the last fault of the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. The Matagami area is a known zinc district, and they were mining until 1980. And since the discovery of Detour Lake Mine in Ontario, on the same trend, but on the Ontario side, of a big 15 million ounce gold deposit at a low grade, the average grade is 1 gram per ton, suddenly the area was open for new mineralization. Nobody had looked for zinc before that in the Matagami area, and digging into the old data, we could find that even a lot of drill holes were done, and there were simply no assays for gold. So we took an interesting land position of 150 square kilometers along that trend, focusing on a orogenic gold model. And to have this, we needed first to do some exploration, of course. As we don't have a lot of outcropping in the area, we had to do some secondary level of exploration, to do some geophysical surveys, till sampling surveys, and since 2016 until now, so in the last 5 years, we've compiled a lot of information, and now we have enough targets and enough confidence in the information to put the first drill holes. Here on this map, you could see that there are some historical drill holes, and the fun part with that, not for them but for us, is that the structure that is now where it is located on the map, they thought the structure was 500 meters more south in 1990 when they drilled the holes. And at the end of each of the hole, they were systematically finding a little bit more gold than on the top of the hold. And they were never be able to explain that because they thought they were crossing, they had already crossed the structure. And now today we understand that it's just because they were slowly but surely approaching the high mag area, which are our targets, which we think are the intrusions. And we have now more confidence seeing those numbers. So on this project, we're going to have before the end of October, we're going to have a 3,500 meter drill program testing the best target we have thanks to the exploration results we have since 5 years. So we expect having the first results by the end of the year, before Christmas, and probably all the results by the first quarter of 2023. So the catalysts for Tarku Resource, we are at the end of 2022, we're going to have our first drill program on the Apollo project starting, as I was saying, before the end of October. It's a 3,500 meter drill program, and before the end of the year we're going to have also a ground exploration mapping on the Silver Strike project in Arizona to prepare the next phase of drilling that should start by the start of 2023. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And while we will see the moving pictures, I will expose my ignorance here, but I'd like to put you into context here. So as you research and develop, the time frame for that would be 3 years, 5 years, or?
It depends on the level of the knowledge we have, but it's an average between 2 and 5 years.
Okay, and if I am a BHP Billiton, because you had BHP Billiton as a neighbor there, so they will obviously do what you do, and then they will start to produce. So what's the time frame for them from having an idea to be able to produce the first ton?
We said that it's an average between 10 and 15 years from the discovery to an open mine. So for them, what they're doing, usually the major company, they are letting the junior miners to junior exploration company doing the first steps. And when they see the results of those company, then they knock on the door.
So you more or less reduce their risk by a third?
Correctly.
Okay, so and because my next question is the holy grail here is inflation. So basically you're not committing that much capital into equipment, and long term, although 5 years may seem
Correct.
Quite long. So how are you affected by inflation in this particular situation?
I think we all infected by the inflation, that's for sure. But I think that not having all the equipment is something really critical, and also we know that natural resource, it's a place where people like to invest when we have higher inflation. But for us, we see even less exploration and less drill program, and we have more rigs available during those days, and that makes for us, we have more available material and lower costs, lower price per meter for drilling also.
So your production cost, if I may use that word, will be lower, whereas the assets that you're looking for may be higher. At least it will not be lower, which I think is in that case is an interesting equation.
Absolutely.
So and the moving picture here, they show what?
The moving picture is it's a drill program that we have that we had last year on Silver Strike, showing an RC drill picking samples from surface to this hole was about 250 meters deep.
And do we have any questions from the floor? Yes, we have. Could we have the mic over there? Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the very interesting presentation. My question is, are your mines or grounds in Arizona anywhere near an Indian reservations?
This is part of the first steps that we have to do before any acquisition. Of course, is because we have a lot of restrictions also with native people. We're not going to explore on their land if they don't want to have a mine, of course, because we're going to spend money for nothing. So these are usually the first steps that we address, and then we have a connection with them. We have a talk with them, and in Quebec, there is, for example, in Quebec, there is a lot of public information on that, so we know where areas are more critical and where we have open ground. So that's usually the first step we have, even before doing the first geology exploration steps.
Do we have any more questions from the floor? Well, how do you keep your staff?
How I keep my stuff in terms of...
I mean, the people you have to hire, because I understand that they are on a project themselves.
Absolutely, yes. Usually Tarku is at a level where we are using contractors. I have different geologists in the US and different geologists in Quebec. During the COVID period, for example, that was an advantage because crossing the border was pretty complex. So by having a team at different place has also advantages. The day we're going to have sufficient advancement on the project, we're going to hire them for a longer period.
Okay, excellent. So do we have any final questions here? Otherwise there will be ample of time to ask questions. But do we have any from the floor? In that case, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlo.
Merci beaucoup et bonne chance.
Merci, bonne journée.